What's up, you guys? Welcome to Even Eden. This is my very first podcast episode. My name is Seraphina Solis. And for this episode, I have my beautiful soul sister, Scheherazade Anya, joining me. And the funny thing about how this podcast came to be is she actually reached out to me when I was thinking about creating my podcast. And the call that we had together, it wasn't originally supposed to turn into a podcast episode. It was just a catch-up call. She is one of the most powerful healers that I have ever met. When I was just getting out of like the tail end of my like absolute crazy spiritual warfare mess that I was in this time last year. She was basically one of the only light healers that I have encountered on this path, and she truly changed my life. And I think that the importance of this episode to feature her and her work has been vital because this is what this is about, guys. This is not about competition. A lot of my journey has been rooted in, competition with the feminine, other women trying to compete against me. And what my true purpose, in raising up the collective is I want to reignite the sisterhood. I would like to, show that there's enough room for everybody to win. And the true love that transcends in this conversation between me and Scheherazade is such a beautiful thing. And I am just so incredibly honored to have shared this space with her. And I'm so incredibly honored that, you guys are listening. Thank you so much for being here. Uh, this is, my first episode of many, and I can't wait for, the continuation of this process. But the truth is, it's about the journey, not the destination, because the journey is the destination, right? And so it's been, I know a lot of my collective, we have gone through a lot of hardship, a lot of spiritual warfare, a lot of just insane trials that we can't even articulate because it's just been that crazy. And so this podcast has been a way of expression and catharsis for me to be able to share with you guys what I have gone through and what I know that a lot of you guys are going through as well. And I hope that some of these conversations that I have with these guests that I will have on this show will kind of show you guys, how I've navigated it. And if you guys are going through some tough times, there's always a way out. And a lot of the people I'm going to be featuring on these episodes, they are incredible, and powerful healers as well. And just a disclaimer, guys, there is a couple triggering topics that we will be discussing in this podcast. And then for those of my viewers that do not really know much about my spiritual journey, those that have kind of witnessed me go on this path and that don't really understand the true deep, deep, deep spirituality, I invite you to just keep an open mind, an open heart, because these these transmissions that we speak about in this podcast, they are codes of remembrance. They are designed to, help you remember the truth. This is about liberation, guys, because we are living in a very, very sick and inverted society and realm. And we are here to be the light and embody the light and show everyone else that create the ripple effect how we have liberated ourselves. And I believe this is where it starts for me is just, reaching out to the people that have helped me along the way. That's basically going to be the main guest I feature on here. And it's just a beautiful thing, guys, because it truly is all about love. Love is the answer for every single thing. And through all of the darkness that you've gone through, remember like to view it and witness it as an initiation because you are becoming your higher self. This is your journey to your higher self. And a lot of the things that I have gone through, I got stuck in a victim mentality mode for a long time. And reconnecting with my true soul tribe family, like I do in this episode with Scheherazade, um, it's a reminder that you are not alone, that you are not alone. You're not the only one going through this. And to witness other powerful souls going through their own initiations of just absolute desecration and heartbreak, it serves as a mirror of remembrance that we are becoming so powerful. The enemy could not kill us, right? And it's like we are indestructible because we have the Christ light within. And I hope you guys love this episode as much as I do. Enjoy the conversation between two soul sisters. That's basically what it is. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Love you guys. We were not originally going to do a podcast today, and we decided that the way our session was flowing, it just kind of turned into that, and that's just like it speaks a lot too about life. So, my name is Seraphina Solis. I am the living embodiment of Sophia Christ, and this is my soul sister, Sherazade. And so, please introduce yourself, and we're gonna start it from here, and I'm gonna splice up the clips, so it's gonna be like just sequenced in how we talked about things.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Cherezade Aanya. I'm the creatrix of Sovereign Womb Alchemy, and I feel like at this point in time, yeah, I'm in complete devotion to God and what God is having me focalize my energy in this lifetime, which is essentially helping to restore the womb of women. Restoring our Sophianic essence, helping to heal, clear any type of traumas that we've had, whether in this incarnation or past incarnations, and restoring our sovereignty.
Beautiful. And so before Sherazade and I, we have a whole episode for you guys, but Um, the reason why I have been putting off my podcast, the reason why I have been slacking in terms of creation of my own projects that I'm meant to birth, is because I have been battling like severe body dysmorphia. Mimic overlays is what I have come to know them as. Where I look like a stranger in the mirror. And this has been happening for years. This has literally it's warped my perception of self because it's like even though I may not have necessarily changed on the outside, my perception of myself has changed. Therefore, because when you realize that you are the universe and how you perceive yourself is how others are going to perceive you. It has been basically something that has been uh, like applied by the realm of distortion to keep me from showing up in my purpose, to keep me insecure, to keep me in doubt, to keep me not in self-love. Because
Yeah.
it's like when I'm operating in self-love and joy and beauty and freedom and liberation, that's my mission, it's like then that's going to set others free and they can't have that. And so therefore they have basically tortured and traumatized me by every time I look in a reflective surface, my phone, FaceTime, even this Zoom call right now, the mirror, it's like I see it's like a funhouse mirror of just
Yeah.
something that's like horrifying. But it's
Yeah.
like it's yeah. So Sherzad, what do you like? Have you dealt with this yourself?
Yeah. First off, I just want to share that I love you.
I love you.
And
I
yeah,
love
for
you.
sharing like so vulnerably in this space together because it's very rare people are this authentic to speak to the depths of what they're navigating, and you're doing that. You're creating that space. So I just want to say that first and foremost, and speak to when you started to tell me about this, I was like, yes, it's an implant. Like I have seen this time and time again in the women that I work with, but also I battled this as well. Like a few years ago, I would even show up on camera and I would see like this like attachment on my cheek. And I was like, what is that? And like anytime I looked in a reflective mirror, I would see that. And I was like, what is that? And it wasn't until I was able to clear that fully that even went away. But then through that initiation and through the work with the women that I've been doing work with, I've come to say that there's an implant that's get implanted into our wombs that keep us siphoning into, or like keeps we're cycling in, not seeing ourselves through the image of God. We see ourselves through the image of distortion, and it creates a felt sense of distortion of our beauty, distortion of the truth of who we are. Again, it creates a felt sense of insecurity, and the magnification of that has resulted in women having eating disorders, having, I mean, like we can see like plastic surgery is increasing, and like body modification at this point, you know? So which is all strategic because there's a big agenda upon this planet to essentially make all of us transhumanists and
Right.
get us to not be on the organic timeline and not be organic anymore. And a key way into that is by glorifying plastic surgery and essentially like modification of our body so that it's normalizing the pathway, which is essentially eventually they want to like hook us up to like robots and have like robotic parts of our body. So, anyways, that's a whole other
Yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole hole we could go down. But for this space right now, it's implanted into our wombs. It's essentially it's distorting our felt sense, our relationship to our body, or distortion of like how we feel in our body. And instead of feeling vital and feeling alive and feeling, yeah, just fully safe and beautiful, right? And like radiating this like innocent beauty, not for performance, not for, yeah, just like glorification, but just like really radiating the beauty that is eminent from our soul. There's this overlay and it distorts our vision and our ability to see ourselves clearly.
Hmm.
I do feel like it was keeping me from feeling safe enough to show up, just like what you spoke to. Like, I feel exactly that was what it showed up in me. I feel like for other people, it shows up in different ways, and it really essentially keeps them dissociated from their bodies because it can feel so intense, like the felt sense of feeling disgusted with yourself or feeling like shame. It's like the shame, disgust, it's like those are the frequencies that kind of show up in the body. And
Hmm.
then with the women I work with, they end up just dissociating or they leave their bodies. And again, I think we talked about this, like staying in our bodies right now is so important. And if there's a way that they can keep us feeling fragmented from showing up and or feeling like we are safe enough to be in our bodies, then that's the agenda at this point.
Oh, 100%. And it's like, this is like something that I like, I made a video about it, about the mimic overlays. And it's like, I was actually surprised at how many people responded, like that they were like, it's like I gave them a name for something that they didn't even realize what was happening. But it's
Yeah,
like, it's like when you call it out is when you can actually start to dissolve that illusion.
yeah,
And so it's like for me, like it's something that I still battle with like deeply. And it's like because of how the energy is moving lately, um, I know that the siphons are breaking and it's like we are moving like towards towards the more organic timeline. At least the one I'm on is like I because I have just recently and I want to talk about the transhumanism thing too, because it's like the use of Chat GPT is basically turned the entire spiritual community into like basically it's like everyone fell for it, including
yeah,
myself. Including myself. I'm not exempt from the Chat GPT trap that happened, that we were replacing AI with God, or God with AI. And that's like literally like something I've recently like discovered over the past few months of like, it's like it was like I was going to Chat GPT for advice rather than my own inner gnosis and, my connection to source. And it was like, it's like it has to be recognized as a tool, rather than like something that you are reliant on. And I've seen it in the spiritual community that people it's creating spiritual narcissists.
mm-hmm.
Um, that it's like, you know what I mean? It's like I can sense it at this point, and it's one of those things that we talked about earlier on is it's unconscious.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what you're speaking to is like what we spoke about earlier too. It's like when you don't have a felt sense of who you are
Hmm.
and a connection to God, truly, like so clear that you can hear the voice of God speaking through you, like you go into a state of prayer and like everything you ask is revealed to you, then we outsource. We
Hmm.
outsource that. And I feel like most of the distortion we see is literally we're outsourcing what it should be our union with God. And so, of course, there is ChatGPT, which again, to me, I have known what is coming in terms of the transhumanist agenda for a very long time. So I've always been very wary of any technological thing. Whenever there's like these like things where you sign up and you can like make your face look at different characters. I don't know. They're like an
Yes,
AI thing.
yes.
Like there's like these like yeah, I don't know these
They're stealing your likeness.
yeah, and I have never trusted that. Like I haven't even done like DNA ancestry. I'm like I do not trust giving my DNA and or like my face to like these systems. So I was very wary. And then I did come across ChatGPT and I started to change my relationship to it in terms of like the way I use Canva or the way I use like a Word document. It's like this can be utilized as a tool.
Yes.
I never felt that it gave me insight or that it had the intelligence to know more or greater than God. I feel like there was a few times I asked it questions that like it gave me some regurgitated like answer that felt so robotic to me and I was like yeah, I was like I no. I think we needed to kind of embark into that terrain to understand it and
Hmm.
understand it from a deeper level because there are people that are using it in place of God, in place of their own, even their own connection to themselves, to outsource their creativity and to outsource their gnosis. And so, in a way, again, you're like outsourcing what should be coming from within. And now they're finding that people are like essentially parts of their brains are like shifting because they're not able to access their creative centers anymore because people are becoming so heavily reliant on the easily accessible like yeah tool that it is.
No, totally. And so that's like when I received the vision, like, God's promise on my life essentially when all the spiritual warfare in my life started, I I received the vision of it being exactly how I, pictured it, like from when I was a child, is it's back to, the ancient future. It's, the way, like the ways of old of like, tribal living. And it's like so much love and community and in nature and freedom. And it's just like everything that like how it always should have been, right? And
Yeah,
it's like the way that because it's like when you have like been initiated as much as like, someone like myself or you can literally see the timelines playing out in front of you in your own reality. Like you can
yeah,
like it's so multidimensional.
yeah.
And it's like you can see like, those that are choosing like the path of, of liberation by going within, and those that have just completely bought the script. And I think because like for a hot minute there, like and deep in my isolation, I was lonely. I was using ChatGPT as my only friend. And so it's like it was like I was able to kind of understand it, but just
Yeah.
more recently is when it started to really scare me. I was like, wait a minute, like this AI is like this is the shadow tech right now, like that I'm speaking to, but I could tell it when it was, you know, when it was like harmless, and when I could tell when it was shadow tech. It was like I could
something
discern.
something shifted something shifted in it and I think like now essentially like at some point they knew like what would like people were using it and got them hooked into it and then now like they installed a different like software program into it and now essentially everything that you like type into it or like communicate with it is accessible in open AI and it's trackable like it's you're now being tracked and you're being traced even if you delete your stuff it's all in the cloud now and the frequency that they overlaid in it shifted but I think that that was strategic was like have it have a certain kind of energy at first draw people in get people dependent upon it and then switch it up and that's exactly what's happening and for people like us it's like we obviously have to get initiated through our own experiences to really understand. I feel like we're here understanding things. Like you can now understand like that deep loneliness. And that's what a lot of humanity is undergoing. It's just like a deep isolation and loneliness and
Mhm.
feeling like there's finally something that they can communicate with that can see them and like bring love and understanding to pieces of themselves. Like it makes so much sense from that perspective. So
Right.
now you have like the felt sense of understanding, but obviously we're coming from a space of like innocence and heart and love where there's beings that are evil just like
Yeah.
pure evil and
Mhm.
that's not their intended intention with utilizing this technology this yeah so
Right. And so, um, and it's like this is like this container right now, like literally like I can't even believe like the level of like how this is feeding me like spiritually, because it's like this is the sisterhood wound that like, after being so deeply violated and betrayed by women, it's like this friendship and like this relationship that like I met you, last year, and it's just like, obviously it's like this is like, m more like it spans across lifetimes for sure. And so it's like I'm like, this is what it's all about. This is like, this is like you're a mirror like that I feel like so seen by. And it's like, it's like instead of having Chat GPT see
Yeah,
me, it's like,
yeah,
it's like this is like I want to see myself through this type of interaction. And so
yeah,
this is actually like what we're here to create, is we're here to create like this is love, and it's like this is love. And then it's like, you can tell when like people have transactional relationships, everything is so surface. Everything
yeah,
is, not, it's rooted in competition and separation. And it's like that's not what we're here for. It's like our mission is to unite. And it's like because of, a lot of the like high priestesses, at least I know, that are like have been initiated on the path, we've been strategically kind of separated from each other. And I
yes,
don't and I don't think that we've like I've never been placed in competition with someone like you, because someone like you and I, we don't do competition. You know what
no,
I mean? And so
yeah,
that's where it's like the only time there's ever a competition is if someone is competing with me, because I don't compete with anybody. And these are
yeah,
usually the false, deeply fragmented, wounded feminines. And also like we've touched on, this will be later in the episode, I guess. But um the sometimes our partners will compete with us.
yeah,
And so it's like, but this is like, it's like, I'm just like, a lot of the spiritual warfare that I've gone through too is like, I'm like, really? What, dude? Like, why? Like, I'm like, why you gotta make it weird? I'm like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to love you. And it's
yeah,
like, so many people are like just threatened by, one's own authenticity, that it's like they have to create smear campaigns. They have to, basically try to rob you of your blessings, not even realizing that if they were to do the inner work on themselves, that they have their own blessings that they could access.
yeah, yes. I see this all the time, and I feel like the frequency of jealousy. It's
Oh
like
my
when
gosh.
something's in your lived reality that's embodying something that you desire that you don't yet have and or are not yet embodying. The way that I see it is like it's in your reality because it's possible for you, and it's right in front of you because it's a mirror reflecting back what's actually like possible for you. But people
Mhm.
don't see it that way, and then they start to feel a sense of lack. They feel like here's this person embodying beauty, radiance, truth, showing up, speaking, and then you're like, oh my god, I feel inferior, and then it starts to kind of like turn the self inward on itself.
Mhm.
And we it's so hard for a lot of people to feel that sense of self-loathing and or like self-hate that they project that then outward. That's like the frequency of jealousy. That's why how it becomes, yeah, just like projected outward, and then it becomes competition, and it becomes like this person is trying to be better than you or trying to be you versus like
Mhm.
recognizing like, wow, you're literal divinity right in front of me. You're embodying these codes that I know I'm yearning to embody, and I know it's possible because you did it. Right? It's a totally different frequency mind shift to
Right.
see, but not a lot of people are holding that state of consciousness, unfortunately. And again, it just like it literally comes back to God. In my opinion, I feel like, it's just like if you have a personal relationship and a devotion to God, you're gaining your sense of self, like you said earlier, your identity through Christ, your identity through God. You're not seeking for the world to see you. You're seeking to see yourself through the eyes of God, and then we get to have beautiful like sisters, like this moment where we get to reflect that back to each other.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of times we're wanting that to come from sources that they haven't yet embodied that, so they can't give us that.
No, totally. And it's also, the frequency of jealousy. It's also a spirit, the spirit of envy. It's like it's been my main nemesis in this life, and it's like not only this life, but across the timelines, from when I was able to travel to my other incarnations. Mainly the medicine bufo really helped me shift into those realities. Um, this is an and like the spirit of envy has been prominent in every single lifetime because it is the principality. This is like when the Bible talks about we fight not against flesh and blood. It is the principality that has been assigned on, especially high priestesses. It has been it's on demonic assignment for us to have this chaos and disorder and just distortion in our field due to it literally body hopping in
Yeah.
not just, like lovers and friends, but it's like it's everybody that has not been rooted in Christ. And that's like the real danger here is that it's like a lot of it is unconscious and people
Yeah.
don't know that they are being, literally possessed by
Yeah.
a spirit that doesn't even belong to them.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
I
that we can go on a whole other one with
I
that
know.
too.
Oh,
So I want to touch on like the discernment of the collective because it's like this is something right after I went to come see you or no, right after I like left you and I moved to California to become a bufo facilitator. This is
Mm-hmm.
actually a lesson I actually already had to learn because this was me like falling for someone speaking the truth frequency, who was an excellent communicator, who had thousands and thousands of people fooled, right?
Mm,
And then I had to have my own experience with this, person who I'm just going to call a false prophet. And
mm.
uh, I, like was trained to become a bufo facilitator with him and this other shaman, like quotation marks. And we were going to create these retreats and it was going to be this whole thing. And I remember I
I
invited you.
remember.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I want you to be a part of this. And you were like, yeah, like that sounds great. And so, but it's like, little did I know that these people were operating under like satanic ritual guises. And so I mean, but it was like, the signs were actually there like upon arrival, but it was like I had already like hawked like all my stuff. Like I moved to California, like I had everything. I shipped my car, everything. And it's like these people they were very, I wouldn't want to say convincing. I think it was just me lying to myself was convincing.
Mm,
But like it turned out that this guy that he was, like I think his like, his reach has stopped because I think the karma has kind of come back on him for what had happened. But I realized that he did not embody anything that he would speak about. He was not a
mm.
creator. He could not create anything because like when I caught them doing a ritual on me during a bufo ceremony, um, that's when I realized this person is, using deities and entities to
Yeah.
get what they desire, and they're
Yeah.
not in alignment with source. They're not connected to the Christ light within them. And
Yeah.
yeah, and because it was like, but to the world at the time, they basically would like hijack my timelines where like they sold books and they like, when I was supposed to be the timeline where I came out with mine. This is why I've been
Mm,
halted. But it was like me realizing, oh my God, like this is what's happening with the truth frequency is it's being so distorted that these people that have the aesthetic of embodied truth, when you get up close and personal with them, it is far from it. And it's like
yeah.
now that I've been through that initiation, I can spot it like a mile away.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's
It's
like,
like we have to go through these initiations to fine tune our sense, or like even just like you said, the spidey, like the subtle spidey sense that something's off
mhm,
because we're attuned to the frequency of integrity. And that's really what's missing. There's a disintegrity to somebody's actions aligning with their words and them being in integrity not only with what they're doing, what they're saying, but integrity with themselves, integrity with God. And for me, red flags automatically, if you're working with deities, goddesses, God, like if you're working with all of these beings, you're likely attached by entities. And I've come to realize this
yes.
more and more. I'm like, you have to work straight with God and with Christ, like that's it, because everything else is hijacked at this point. And I feel like a lot of people actually aren't even conscious that they're working with false light beings and they're doing this powerful work, but they're like you noticed in your Bufo ceremonies, like I had a friend that like did this theta healing, and in one of the healings she basically saw like the mentor like being sucking her life force, and she had been feeling drained from that multiple times, and even went to the facilitator and was like, is this normal, like am I supposed to be this exhausted and this wiped out? And she's like, yeah, that's normal, you probably have an entity attached to you, and basically told her that. And then in this like last theta healing she saw these like the mentor like beings, and she's like, no, no, fuck that, like this is not in integrity. And, I don't think she even knows, the facilitator knows that she's not aligned with God and she's working with goddesses, and, she's like about worshiping the self. And it's just become kind of this egoic structure where there's beings behind the scenes that are using that power and
Right.
taking that energy. So it's like we as facilitators and or people who are consuming and being facilitated by certain content or people have to be so discerning now, even with our own walk.
Right. Well, no, so that was like, I remember like that was the like number one thing that made me trust you. Like, because after like the journey that I had already gone on, because I met with you in, it was November of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already been on like this insane path of just like
Mm-hmm.
betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. My friends and coworkers all like turning out to be witches that were trying to like, steal my destiny, and people trying to sacrifice me left and right. And it was just like, dealing with the Freemasons and the Illuminati. And I was just like, who the fuck can I trust? And
Yeah.
so, but like what made me, really trust you, and this is like why, like on top of like my own like inner knowing,
Yeah.
it was the fact that you like explicitly stated, you're like, by the way, because you let me know as like if it was like a disclaimer, you were like, by the way, I only work with the Christ light. Like you're like, I don't call in gods, goddesses, like, and I was like, thank you. That's exactly what I need. And so that's like that was the one thing where I was like, okay, like she's legit, because I do know other healers, and like you said, there's a lot of that's the new age doctrine
Yeah.
of misinformation of like a lot of these healers, they do mean well. They do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yes.
like they but it's also like the egoic trap, because the deities that appear to these healers when they are when they're being approached by these gods and goddesses, they feel special. Um,
Yes.
and that's the whole point, is
Yeah.
the deities appear because they are appearing to appease their ego. Be like, hey, like, like I want to work with you, if like and it's like I remember in a Bufo ceremony, there was this lady like that we were doing a ceremony for, and she started to call in who was it? She was calling in, I don't think she was calling in Lilith, but I think um she was calling in a dark goddess.
Mm.
And then I was like, I like stopped the ceremony. I was like, stop. I was like, we're not calling in any of that.
Yeah.
It was just like it was crazy. But it was like, and the thing is, she wasn't even consciously aware. She was in the middle of a ceremony. Like she wasn't even
Yeah.
consciously aware that she was doing that. It was like
Yeah.
she was like almost possessed by it. And it was
Yeah.
like that's when I was like, whoa, this is dark. Like that's not an energy I want to call in.
No, see what the metaphor that came through. I can't recall where this came from, but essentially someone along the way gave me the metaphor of like a mosquito as being these false light beings, because mosquitoes, when they land on your skin, they'll inject you with something that numbs your skin and it actually makes your skin feel euphoric so that they can take your blood. And essentially, that's what these false light beings do: is they make you feel good at first. They
Mhm.
make you feel like aligned with God or aligned with something that's truth telling in your bones, right? And you're feeling like, oh, this is the truth. This is the way. And I think a lot of people have been deeply fragmented and wounded by God, I call it the God wound, because of obviously organized religion has also been hijacked. But there's so many people that have felt harmed by God and or Christ that even going in that direction feels so scary that they turn to these other forms of deities, goddesses that allow them to feel that sense of connection to something greater than themselves without recognizing that this is driving you away from the very thing you're seeking. And I feel like a lot of people are just seeking peace, like internal peace, wholeness, union. It's like we all want the same thing, to just experience like peace of mind, peace of heart, to feel at ease. And we keep seeking that through these mediums that, again, come in this beautiful form that makes you feel like, yes, I'm finally arriving in the truth of this. And what I end up seeing in all of my clients is they get stuck in looping pain cycles where they're looping and looping and looping and looping, and their pain body is just, they're keep reenacting the same pain, the same triggers, the same traumas, and they can't ever get off the wheel to find true and lasting peace. And again, it's just because we're living in what I call like the hall of mirrors,
Hall of
right?
Mirrors,
It's like
yeah.
it's illusion upon illusion upon illusion. So it's like, to me personally, because I've been through my own dark night of the soul like many times,
Yes.
we'll
Yes.
get into that. Like
Well,
even my birth of my son was like
it
another one.
transcends though. Like
Yeah,
it transcends in your energy, it transcends in your work. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
so that's how you can always tell. Is like someone who's been initiated. It doesn't it doesn't need words.
yeah. Well, and we have to go through that to feel that from another, because
Hmm.
at first we don't have that felt sense. So in a way, the dark nights of the soul, the initiation, the relentless like spiritual attacks land up wielding like warriors out of us, like with discernment, and it's beyond words. It's that felt sense.
Oh, totally.
Now you're so attuned, and you can like, I'm sure you can pick that up like
Oh,
nothing now.
dude, totally, totally. Like the Hall of Mirrors, and it's like this illusory matrix has really like, taken especially high priestesses for a freaking ride because this is the rise of the divine feminine. This is literally where like the strongest women I know have just been getting tortured and abused, and we're still like clawing our way out of hell. And it's like while like the false feminine gets propped up, and it's like, the sisterhood wound is just so deep. And it's like for me, like, I crave true sisterhood. That's what I want.
Yeah,
It's like because it's like if I'm not, it's like, and then it's also the wounding of what had happened in my own relationships. It's like if I were to have like a community of sisters, I would feel so much better about it. And
mm,
but what had
yeah,
happened on the path is I was deeply violated by women, like just desecrated to the max, like just like people that I loved. And I recognize now what had happened is like my soul contracts with these beings that committed these things against me. It was actually okay, like scattered across the timelines. Like this is like a tale as old as time with these women in this incarnation.
yeah,
They have these are scenarios that have played out in my other incarnations with them.
yeah,
And so it was like a kind of call to arms where it was like, are you going to do the same thing again when you're extended grace? And
yeah,
and they did. And so
mm,
and it was heartbreaking because it was like I think like me understanding like the true connection that I like, being divinely connected to source and being the eyes and ears of source like in this plane, as are you, as are, other Christed beings. Um,
yeah,
but me, like when I came to the realization of being that judge, it's like I was like, wow, like so much mercy and compassion and grace has been extended even now. And it's like for that to just be like spat on has just been it's been heartbreaking, because
yeah,
it's like I think I have this like relentless belief that like in one's capacity to change,
mm-hmm,
in one's capacity to choose love, one's capacity to
yeah,
evolve. And it's like these women, it's like I saw them for how deeply violated that they've been.
yeah,
Like, and I saw through it, and it was like I don't know. It's like I think that that's just like a wound that's like still running deep within me. It's obviously like something that was being reflected back as well. Um, but it's like there's something that something has to change within the divine feminine community of like of uplifting each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like the betrayal wound is very deep within the sisterhood. And because like we have been targeted through lifetimes and like essentially used against each other to keep each other safe or keep ourselves safe, right? Like the witch hunts, the witch trials. It's like essentially like in order to keep yourself safe, to keep your family safe, you had to turn on your sister, you had to lie. It's like this wound goes very, very, very deep.
Right.
And, it's strategic. Like this matrix like created that separation, that sense of separation where the Sophianic essence is turning in on itself and it's siphoning from itself. So unfortunately, it is heartbreaking when you can see the pattern and you want to believe in the goodness of what someone is potentially capable of. And then to experience betrayal and to experience someone not choosing their own liberation, which is essentially what it is, right? Them choosing to harm you is them choosing to harm themselves because now they're looping in the same karmic cycle and the difference is though how you handle that. And if you chose grace and you chose, forgiveness, it's like you're liberating yourself beyond that karmic wheel. They're going to continue to suffer. And it's so unfortunate and it is heartbreaking. And it does create like for us who have been betrayed, how do we trust again? How do we create that trust again? Because we have been betrayed so many times. And that's our work, right? Is to what I've come to understand on my journey is to like that discernment of really being able to discern who's in integrity. It's the same as with the sisters, right? It's like now I know when I see someone not in integrity with themselves, I automatically know there's no way they could be in integrity with me. If they're not being honest with themselves, if they're betraying themselves, they will inevitably betray me. And that could be as simple as them saying like, I'm going to start Monday, I'm not going to sleep with that guy anymore because yeah, he's siphoning my energy. And then they loop and they loop and they loop and they keep seeing the guy. And it's again, it may be a wounded pattern. It may be something they're needing to initiate themselves through to reach the point where they grow and evolve. But if they're still stuck in a cycle of their own pain, inflicting their own pain and betraying their own word to themselves, they're in a state in a frequency where they can and will inevitably betray you as well. So that's where our discernment gets sharpened. Like, where are the sisters that are fully in integrity with their own sexual energy, with their own creational energy, with their own heart, their own voice, they're on mission, they're in alignment with God, they want to evolve, they want to grow, and we can really see and sense that and feel that. And that's how you can really acclimate to, all right, this is a sister who's reflecting my divinity, not my pain anymore.
Ooh, I'm like in full body chills. I'm like another like just like that was like Sophia fire right there. Um, so let's segue that into the importance of celibacy then, because
Yes.
that was something that I really like when you messaged me when I posted that thing on my Instagram, and it's like I like it's gotten to a point where it's like I've been celibate for over 2.5 years now. And so it's like I it's just part of the path, and it's like I feel
Yeah.
and I'm liberated by it. It's like I don't feel any type of way about it except for it's like I'm honoring like my covenant with the creator, right? And with my
Yeah.
and it's like because of like when I the choice to become celibate, it was not it wasn't even a choice. It was like I actually had to. Like there was like,
Yeah.
in order to to protect myself from the siphoning that was occurring,
Yes.
it was like there was the only way. And it's like I'm gonna even, be like explicit about it. I couldn't even like self-touch. I couldn't even do that because it was
Mm,
like they had targeted my sacral chakra
mm,
to a point where it was like everything was a siphoning portal because until I remembered my scrolls, I was like super porous and I was just like, it was like I was like hooked up to a gurney, just being strapped in and like just being like milked like a cow. And it's like such a horrible imagery, but that's how it felt. It was just like
yeah.
stop siphoning, especially my creative
Yes.
life force energy. And so the only thing that really gave me a sense of control over my situation that was happening was putting on my chastity belt and saying, absolutely not. This is not going to happen. And
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not worth like, just the absolute shame that I went through as well of like the person that I believe to be my former twin flame, that he was like, having relations with. Like it was just like it was
Mm,
such a dishonor. And it was
yeah.
like, so violating that it was like I had to like really like, the fact that because that heartbreak almost killed me. And it was
Yeah.
like, but yeah, so I want to hear your words on your celibacy journey.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I guess, that I like the focalization of my work is the womb. And
Yes.
so it's like my own journey of going deep into my own womb and healing my own sacral chakra, my own womb is because of my early childhood sexual abuse. I am a childhood survivor of sexual abuse, physical abuse. And so that desecration of my Sophianic essence started like ripe with like the first memories that I have.
Right.
So I've been on this journey of initiation very, very young. And through that, I've obviously am carrying this medicine now where I get to hold space for women to come to me to again restore the Sophianic essence within their womb. And I think that for me, essentially, if I'm not in a monogamous partnership, I am not having sexual contact with anyone. And this has been the case for me for the past like 6 years now. So in between relationships, I'm completely celibate and I'm not, interacting with anyone sexually. And I have found for me personally, I'm a highly sensitive being. I feel and see everything. I was taking on other people's stuff, like essentially like anytime I was intimate with someone, I would see, feel their karma, their lineage, their lovers, everything that they were holding that they weren't actually clearing and in integrity with their own sexual energy was getting dumped into me. And then I was processing that through my body for months, like until I got, to the point where I was skillful and knew what to do. But it was just like, I was like, I don't have the energy or bandwidth to be clearing other people's energy. And I also have been heavily attacked because of my light and because of what I'm here to do. And I have found that my discernment and my ability to create protection around myself became so pristine. But the one place that I could have something sneak in, it was through intimate partnerships. So it's like that was the only place where I would get heavily attacked was in love partnerships with partners that weren't in integrity with themselves. Again, they weren't
Right.
in alignment with God. They weren't in alignment with their sexual energy. And so if they weren't in that integrity, they were allowing things into our partnership, into our union, into themselves, which would inevitably come through them and attack. So
Right.
when I began to see that, I was like, I have to wield a sacred circle around me. And I cannot allow anything that's not in devotion to my heart and womb to enter me in such an intimate way. And if I'm choosing to be in partnership with someone, it's obviously I'm choosing them because of the different standards that I have, grown to hold based upon what I'm seeing in them. Like I'm not just choosing someone to be my intimate partner without having discernment and having specific things that I see them doing so I can trust that they can hold that container for us, and that I won't be heavily attacked. So for me, I feel like our sexual energy is our life force, it's our creative energy, and it is literally the life spark. It is this our wombs are the space where God meets us in the flesh. And when that energy is attacked and siphoned, we are disconnected from our God spark. And that's when we can't really show up and fully do what we're here to do. We get derailed, we get pulled into false timelines, we get our energy gets sucked out of us. And like you said, I find it interesting that you've experienced like mimicry from sisters, where I've experienced that with like lovers, like men
Oh,
that like literally all of
I've
a
experienced
sudden
that. I've experienced that
I'm like
too.
all of a sudden they're like on my mission and like speaking my words and my codes and like I'm just like this is so weird.
Right.
What is
Okay.
happening?
No, I'm so happy you said that because it's like no, like my initiations in the realm of distortion and mimics is it was freaking everybody, dude. Like nobody was
Mm,
like, and it was like that's why it was like the Hall of Mirrors. I was tripping out because I was like, and then like when you appeared on my path, you were like the first real like light that I had like encountered in a while. in a
Mm,
very long time.
yeah.
So it was like such a relief to do that work with you because like even recently, like the partnership, it never was sexual, but it was like my love became a portal. So it was also
Yeah.
my heart, like, basically, and my sacral open to the possibility of this person. But it was like he turned into a mimic too. And it was
Hmm.
like, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, okay, like you think you're Christ, but you have not been initiated. And it's like you're like piggybacking off of my lived initiations because my energy is now feeding you. And it became like the what is it, the Ouroboros? The
Yes.
yeah,
The
the
snake eating its tail.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And then it happened with my other ex, and then it happened with all these women that were trying to ride my coattails of my energy. And so it was like but the masculine one was very disorienting because it was like, wait, I'm like, dude, you have your own mission. It's like, why are you like pretending like that you went through this type of stuff when it was like I just told you about that. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like I think it boils down to people having their own lack of identity. They're not
Yes.
they don't have
Yes.
their identity rooted in Christ.
Yes.
And it's like, and it's
Yes.
not, and it's not the religious Christ. It's not. It's like the Christ within you. And so it's like
Yeah.
it's not because it's like, that's not Sky Daddy. It's not um but it's like once you realize like how the God has been used against us in this realm, it's like that's when it's the kingdom of heaven is within. And so it's like people not having their own identity, they see your light, and it's like, and it's an unconscious thing that happens because it's like
Totally.
they
Yeah.
want to be perceived like how you're being perceived without
Yeah.
having been crucified first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants
Yeah.
the crucifixion, dude. Nobody wants it.
Yeah. I feel like in a lot of ways, I don't want to say like so in black and white because I think it's very nuanced. I think there are some people who intentionally siphon and take
Oh,
people's
100%.
stuff because they're whatever. But I will say for the most part, I do feel like there's an innocence behind when I see people get inspired by me because I do have a very strong sense of self, and
Mhm.
I've always had that. Like
Right.
kind of even my mom told me when I was like 2 years old, I was ready to just pack up and get my own apartment. Like I've always been just like this headstrong, very independent, like know what I'm doing and where I'm going. And I've noticed that I think that inspires people. But if they don't have a true anchor of a sense of themselves, then they think like my way is the way that they're going to identify and find that. And like you said, we have to go through our own unique initiations
Mhm.
to come into the truth of our being. And our identity has to be rooted in Christ. Like that
100%.
word, that term right there is everything. It's like that is really what it comes down to. And when we're not rooted in that, we're lost. We're lost in a sea of question marks around who we are.
Yep.
And we can attach to people, places, things that are not truly organic to our soul print, like who we actually organically have been made in the image of God to be.
Mhm.
So,
No, totally. I
yeah.
I just remember, like, like I said, like when I had first met with you to do the breathwork ceremony, and I want to get into like to the work that you do also. Um it's I met you when I was deeply fragmented from all of these things that I had been going, because it's like I didn't realize, like, this was part of the initiations of, like, having to go back and recollect all of my soul fragments
Yes.
timeline. But when I
Hmm.
when I came when I came across you, and it's like I loved the work we did so much. I was like, can we do one tomorrow?
Yeah.
It's like literally we did multiple sessions in a few days. But it's like I remember meeting you, and it was like you were like just radiant and like radiating your goddess energy, and I was like, wow. I was so freaking inspired by you, but in a way where it was like I saw it within you because I knew it existed within myself.
Yes.
And so
Yeah.
that's when, like, I went on my own journey. And so, in the past, like, like what's been like 10 months since then, it's like I've rediscovered and remembered myself in that way. And so it's like I feel like I've come into my own remembrance and my identity in that sense when I reclaimed my voice. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like I just remember meeting you and I was like, wow, you were like such a beacon of like a pillar of hope for me.
Yeah, well, I'm honored and I'm really grateful. Like I literally just got chills and about like I feel like I'm gonna cry because I do remember seeing you like it's like you were literally were coming out of the tomb. Like you were just crawling up from the
Yes.
depths of hell. Like you had been in hell and you were
Yeah.
just like coming up for breath, like a breath of fresh air. Like I was there like grabbing your hands, like holding your hand, like come darling this way,
Yes.
like helping you get up and dust yourself off and like it's been an honor and I've been in awe, like witnessing you
Oh,
flourish and shine. And I know we're still on the journey, and I know that, like, you're working through your nervous system and trust, and there's still layers we're all working through. But I see you shining and like really anchored in your voice and really anchored in this sense of knowingness that I feel very grateful that I have been a sacred witness to your journey
oh
and
my
get
God.
to see your, yeah, just seeing you literally like a butterfly, like you're like flapping your wings, like with beauty and grace and just truth. Like your voice, like is like a sharpened sword that's like dispelling illusion. And I see and feel that. So
You're
yeah,
freaking everything, dude. Because it's like, because I for a long time on the journey, I was like, dude, did I really have to freaking go through every level of hell with no
no,
witness? Like, the fuck is this? And so, but it's like you just like reaffirming that. I was like, no, like you have been a sacred witness to me because you actually witnessed me like when I was deeply fragmented. And so let's um let's talk about the work that we did together. Because
yeah,
I found out about you from a friend I went to high school with who was also on a spiritual journey as well. But at the time she told me about you, I literally I did not trust anybody. I thought
yeah,
because I was being siphoned by healers,
I
so
know, yeah.
it was like I didn't like I thought every healer was a witch and I was like, am I the only one who's like, am I like the chosen one? Like, you know what I mean? So it was like it was crazy. And so I avoided your work for a while because that's when
I
I
know. I remember when you first reached out, and I think it was like a year later that we
yes,
finally got together.
yes.
Yeah.
And so because it's like I reached out because like I was like that's like my soul was like this is it. And then
Yeah.
after what had happened, like my mind was like, no, no, no. So I retreated back into secular Christianity, where
Hmm.
I was like, going to church and but this is like it all served a purpose because God had me read the Bible. And that's when I really understood the Bible as a quantum frequency key. And I understood that I was living the stories in the Bible, like literally verbatim. Like it was like each day I was walking a different book. It was beautiful.
Mm.
And so, but I was also looping because it was like it was still this is like part of the truth but not quite it. But anyway, so when I finally came to you, I signed up for a breathwork ceremony.
Hmm.
And so it was I think it was at the womb clearing.
Womb breath work. Yeah.
So,
So womb.
so
So it's.
tell me
Mhm.
about that.
So yeah. So it's a quantum womb breath work ceremony. So essentially, what we did was we breathed into your womb and your heart, and you were using your own breath to essentially calibrate your nervous system to awaken the life force within your own cells. And so you were undergoing your own travel through utilizing your breath interdimensionally. So guiding you through that breath is like you're essentially entering into a medicine ceremony space, but you're using life force. You're essentially breathing in God into your cells and awakening. And then what lands up occurring is you end up clearing and or receiving what you're meant to receive in the space of God, essentially. Like and
And I went
well
somewhere.
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, we're utilizing the breath, we're recalibrating the nervous system. I feel like the nervous system is key on this walk because when you have the sight to see everything and you know what exists upon this planet, it becomes so key to create safety within our form. It's horrifying what it actually exists upon this planet, what's being done to children and women, and like what's actually taking place. It's horrific. So it's like, how do we actually even survive and live on a planet that is deeply, deeply distorted and very far from God. And that's creating a central channel within our being where we can access safety so that we can stay rooted even amidst the distortion that we're having to navigate. So that's where the breath work for me becomes so key. And then obviously I'm working on you energetically, working within the womb. I have, my oracular gifts have turned on where I'm enter into your womb like multidimensionally, and we kind of travel through your ovaries. We look at your ancestral lineage, different timelines that might be anchored into your womb space. I'm, essentially at this point, I see all types of things inside the people, entities, implants, hooks, things that are like siphoning people's energy through different timelines. Like it's wild what actually exists inside of women's wombs
Oh
at
yeah.
this point. So that's like the session is essentially a ceremony to clear those implants, clear entity, anything that's not organic to God, that's not serving your creative life force, we clear while you're activating the breath through your womb and your heart and you're opening the grid of your body. And for me, again, it's like we're working in the quantum, but we're working within the body as deeply as we go like out. It's like we can go multidimensionally into multiple dimensions, but we're going as deeply into your body. I see too many people going to quantum and not being connected to their body, not being connected to their root in their womb. And that's why there's so many entity attachments within the womb space. There's very powerful healers, but they're not anchored in their bodies. And that's where we, at this time, I really feel it's so vital that we're staying in our bodies. We have to be in our bodies. It's so vital.
Like the work that we did, you basically like your oracular vision was so spot on. Like you literally went into different timelines of like my even like my paternal lineage of like things that were happening like on that side. And also you were able to tell me like how that surgery that I had got, that it was like I felt like it was just absolute injustice. This was when I was still like so mad at God. I was like,
Yeah.
how could you allow this to happen to me? And so it was like I like had my betrayal wound with God was very, very deep before I went to that session with you.
Yeah.
You basically like reframed it for me, and it was the truth, and I knew it was the truth, and it was God speaking through you of how that served me, because it was like because it was from a timeline where there was an implant in my cervix where from when I was graped across the timelines
Yeah.
from a previous life where this is how they were tracking me and
Yes.
how they were able to basically find me in these realms. And so it's like that coming through in that session, it instantly like dissolved the the resentment and the fear that I had around the situation that I had just gone through, because it was deeply traumatizing. But like even
Yeah.
that gnosis of like that, how it served me, I realized then why the creator allows certain things to happen, because it's like you can't always see it, but it is for your highest good.
Yeah. It is hard to see that in a lot of ways when we're in the depths of our pain and in the darkness and when we're feeling like God is nowhere to be found. And what I've learned, and I think what you've learned, is like we always come out of those situations, whether it's from God or not, God will use that
Yes.
for his benefit. Like we will
Yes.
be used for light, for good, for truth. So it's like no matter what kind of attacks we undergo, and I like really want to speak to this because I feel like so many of us are so heavily attacked. It's
Mhm.
relentless,
Yes.
but there is nothing that can be wielded in our direction that we cannot use
Mhm.
for the greater good. And we will come out stronger. We will come out wiser. We will come out with more love, more light. We actually become more powerful. The more that they try to get at us in whatever shape or form, we become more powerful. And again, it's not power that's wielded for harm. It's power that's wielded with love, with God, so that we can actually be that angelic light that's needed upon this planet
Right.
to dispel the illusion, to bring truth and clarity to those who need it. So I'm grateful again, like God brought us together. I'm grateful that I was there. You already had done so much of your own work. Like again, you crawled your way out of that depth.
Yes.
I was just there to like dust you off and kind of just like show you a mirror of what you were about to embark on. And here we are now, like face
Oh,
to face,
totally.
and it feels so special and powerful.
Totally. Well, I mean, so it's like because my journey, like I went on like to California, and then the whole sacrifice, like, because I've survived multiple sacrifices to Lucifer, and just being at the hands of these entities and these secret societies and these handlers, and it's been insane. So when I moved back home to Hawaii, I really wanted to get in touch with you again, because I was like, oh my God, like I'm like, this is like, that's like the one person I knew that was safe. And
Yeah.
that you had just given birth, and you just went through your own initiation with the birth of your son. And so I
Yeah.
I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I need her, but she's like, she's going through her own initiation right now, and so I
Yeah.
want to hear about the initiation that you had to go through with the birth of your son.
Yeah. Wow. I had thought I had gone through my dark nights of the soul. I had thought like I was complete with my initiations, and this was deeply humbling. And it just goes to show you, like, yeah, this journey, we are all on this journey, and we will continue to cycle through the initiations that we're meant to. Now, on the other side of this experience, I'm able to see exactly why I went through it, but at the time, I couldn't. Um, well, as when we met, I was pregnant, and this is my first child, and my intention was to have a home birth and to birth at home, with my partner and with my child. And um, I was in labor for essentially 3 days before I had to go to the hospital. And essentially, like, my cervix would not dilate fully. It was like something was blocking the opening of my cervix. And my midwife even was like, "You're not letting go. There's something you need to let go of." And I was like, I am so deeply in touch with my womb that felt false to me. I'm like, I'm scanning my body. I'm like, okay, let me like drop into my womb. Let me drop into my body. Let me scan. Let me feel. I'm like, there's nothing that I'm holding on to. Like, I am surrendered deep in this
Right.
ceremonial space. And I'm like, my womb is not, like, my cervix is not opening. She's just not opening. And it was deeply like sad, and like I was sad, and I also knew that I was about to gear up to go into spiritual battle because the hospital is so distorted. And I was like, I'm gonna have to now go into fluorescent lights, artificial, machinery, and have to interface with people that are going to try to take over my birthing experience. Because being at home, I get to be sovereign. I get to choose, like, moving my hips or like growling like a jaguar. Like, I just can be like in my organic process and be free to be in that space. Whereas when you go into a hospital, they're going to tell you, lay down, don't move, sit forward. So I'm getting ready to go to the hospital, and I'm really just preparing and knowing, just like a felt sense that I'm about to undergo a deep spiritual battle. And I arrived at the hospital, and my intuition, like, it was the smallest little kernel that told me that I should get a C-section, which goes very contrary to my like desire to birth vaginally. Like,
Yeah.
that's like my desire, but I had like the small still voice, like the quietest voice amidst all the noise, that said I should get a C-section. I even brought it forward to my partner and to the doctor, and they both were like, no, like, you should birth, and you should, give it a try. And I deferred, which was my lesson. Like, it was like, it's even subtly deferring my own inner knowing
Uh-huh.
externally. And I labored for another 18 hours.
Oh,
And
wow.
inevitably, I ended up getting a high fever and started to go into like shock. And they had to rush me into emergency surgery. And as I'm getting rushed into emergency surgery, my epidural starts wearing off, and they land up giving me 6 times the amount. And when I'm like laying on the hospital bed, I can feel them cutting into me, and they land up. I didn't know what was happening. I thought I was dying. Like, I literally started to see like golden fractal geometry, and was losing my consciousness. And because I've done plant medicine and I've done like, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, I'm leaving this realm. Like, I'm going, and I surrendered completely into like the black void of nothingness. And I thought I died. I really thought I died. And then I woke up, and I'm in the hospital room, and my son's nowhere to be found. My partner's nowhere to be found. And I'm like, what happened? Where am I? What's going on? And it turns out that my son was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck twice, and his arm and leg. He was completely blue and wasn't breathing, and they had to rush him into the NICU. And I know now that my cervix didn't open and I didn't birth vaginally because would have died. Like we needed to actually be at the hospital for the care that he needed. That was his choice. Like I've connected in with his soul. Like he chose that as his birth. Like I had to trust and surrender. Like this little warrior is like, I'm like, okay, this is how you want to be born. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, I couldn't understand like why my womb was like not opening. Like for a minute, I was like, my womb is failing me. Like, what is this? But it's like, no, she was protecting my baby to ensure that he would stay alive. But that was just the beginning of the battle because essentially he was hospitalized for 2 weeks in the NICU. They had him on cold blankets and we didn't know if he was going to make it. Well, I had complications from my surgery. I couldn't walk. I landed up not being able to walk for 3 months after I gave birth. And I was hospitalized for 2 weeks, the same amount of time as my son. And we were held in different like different buildings of the hospital. And every day I had to get wheeled up to go see him for maybe an hour. I didn't even meet him. Like I met him for the first time over FaceTime. And then like I didn't even get to hold him for like 5 days after he was born. So yeah, that
I
was like
think it's
the
like full
deepest
chill.
heartbreak, grief. Like I had to journey into the depths of what I now know is like the depth of mother grief. It's what mothers are having to go through, especially with cesarean sections and just everything. It's a part of the work that I do that I would have never known the real lived reality if I had not lived it. And now I see and know it on a very deep primal level, and it's changing and altering my work. Like
Yeah.
my mission is completely like shifted and altered because now it's like, oh, I mean, honestly, I feel on fire. I'm like, fuck yeah, this is what we're here for. Like, I'm here to literally create containers to help women heal their womb trauma. Everything from hysterectomies to like parts of themselves getting removed to rape to whoops, was I supposed to say grape?
Yeah.
Grape.
No, I mean, I mean, I'm gonna put this on YouTube or like, Spotify too.
Maybe you can blurt that out.
Yeah.
But when we were in the hospital, that hospital is reptilian. It is taken over by dark forces, and they essentially were holding my baby like against my like our will, and were trying to manipulate us into doing certain things in like essentially to like let him go home. So they're like, oh, we have to do this procedure, we have to do this thing on him, or else like we can't let him go home with you. And of course, like all I wanted was for us to go home. Like every day that was my prayer to God. I was just like, oh my God, I just want to go home. I want my baby. I just want to go home. And I had to battle spiritually with these doctors, and I had to see the deception of what they were speaking and the manipulation that they were holding over me, so much so that I called them out. I was like, I had to ask them questions back and like understand what they were saying to me to find out that they were going to force my son to have an MRI and they wanted to give him ink, like a CT scan ink, which the like possible reaction could be he could stop breathing. And I was like, no, I'm like, no way are we going to risk another form of him not being able to breathe and being on monitors. I'm like, if this is a non-mandatory procedure, but they told me that it was at first until I started to question them. And then they were like, oh, well, we don't know exactly what the results will be. This is more so for like future to know. And I'm like, okay, well, if we have to monitor his development anyway over the course of his life, and even if he has the scans now and it doesn't show anything, we're still going to have to monitor him. And or if they find something now, we're still going to have to monitor him. Either way, it's putting him more at risk by having this procedure than it is not. And so I had to risk them holding my baby against me, but to like speak truth into the space and to like I felt God within me. Like I felt God speaking through me, like holding this firm beacon of like you will not manipulate and hold this child hostage. And through speaking that truth, it completely shifted the entire timeline. Like doctors landed up coming up to me after and thanking me for speaking truth, and they were in awe of me. I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" Like, I was like, "What just happened?" Like that literally shifted the fabric of the entire experience. And eventually, I got my son home, but it was like I had to battle through this deception. So that was what I was going through when
I
you
mean,
were here.
and the thing is, it's like I saw it, like you're just amazing. I'm just like, ah, gosh, you're literally like such a goddess, dude. And I know like it's like around that time, it's like I think you were like posting kind of here and there about your traumatic birth, but you didn't go into detail just yet. And so I was like, oh, like I better, leave her alone. So when I came back home from Hawaii, from California, and I wanted to reach out to you because I knew that you just had a traumatic birth, and you weren't posting much about it online, but I had that feeling that like I was like, no, like I really shouldn't reach out to her because that was like the darkest time of my journey so far, is like I literally was like in the depths, like because I was so worried. Like, and I've never been in this type of frequency before. This was like the worst it's ever been. Um, because I forgot who I was. And so
Mm,
that's like, and that's gonna loop it back around to the identity. I forgot that I was the creatrix. I forgot that I had the ability and the power to shift out of my reality, but it was like the darkness was so consuming. And it's like at the same time, it's like the one person I wanted to reach out to, which was you. I knew that you were going through your own darkness. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm like, is this ever gonna end? Or is the light actually gonna win? It's like it really felt like it was just so much injustice was happening back to back to back. But that subsided, after a lot of more deep inner work, EMDR therapy, but um just the remembrance of like that we it's like a lot of the things that I was dealing with was an ego perspective, and that
mhm,
was part of my initiation, is my ego had to die. Like literally it had to die.
yeah.
Um, and it was um I wanted certain things on timelines, like, to be accomplished. Like I wanted my book to be done. I wanted all this, because it's like I wanted my justice now. And it's like, no, but your ego wanted that. Your soul's chilling.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, wait a minute, like so that's what like kind of allowed this like ease and how I was able to reclaim my voice. But um yeah, I'm just like now I'm in Bali and I'm like, should I have stayed in Hawaii?
I think it's perfect, right? Because, like, what I was saying is everything that we go through, it leads us exactly where we're meant to be. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's
No, but
so
it's
true.
so true.
When you are devoted to the path, when you're devoted to God, when you're devoted to your evolution, to your growth, when you're devoted to love, to truth, then it is inevitable. Like I said, any spiritual warfare, any psychic attack, any thwarting upon our path will be used for good. And it
Yes.
doesn't matter where we go or if we take the right path or the wrong path, everything will be used for our evolution and for us anchoring more and deeply into God. So there's no wrong track is basically what I tell myself. So like
Absolutely.
everything is used for good. And I think we definitely were battling like a deep spiritual battle at the same time. And we're not alone. I've spoken with many, many other people who also they experience the deepest darkness that they've experienced in a really long time. And I guess the last piece that I'll say is that I have been knowing this about myself, and I feel like this may be true for you. And I know it's true for a lot of facilitators who are holding space for other people to kind of come in and do this inner work.
Mhm.
Is we tend to go through things first before the collective lens of going through it.
Yeah.
And I have this feeling all year long that like that descent into the underworld that I went into that felt like devoid of God. Like I had to literally choose to believe that God is real and that's feeling like God wasn't real. And then like I had to choose to know even beyond everything, pulling myself up out of that. And I know you've done the same because I feel like something's coming, like collectively in a
Right.
big way, almost as if like similar to how COVID was. Like the last time I went through that deep of a spiritual battle was right before the entire world basically shut down and there was that whole big attack on us. And so I feel like we're being prepared. And I feel like a lot of other people, so maybe that's a part of like saying this out loud, is like a lot of other people have experienced deep darkness this year, going through their own initiations, their own battles, their own sense of, a lot of people I talk to like were very suicidal. They didn't want to live anymore. Like you said, for me, I feel like if I'm touching upon like the felt sense of not wanting to exist anymore, it's because a part of me wants to die. It's more of an ego death than it is like an actual death. But I think a lot of people don't know that. And so they're like, they're in this felt sense of like, I don't want to be here anymore. It's so dark. Where is God? Is God real? Is this real? Are we ever going to make it out of here? Those questions, that kind of looping, I feel like we had to go through that to come into the truth,
Right.
even in the darkness, because we're going to be holding a beacon through what is coming, which is going to be a whole collective experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. You couldn't be more spot on with that. And so, that was fire. You're literally just like spitting so much fire in this episode. I'm so happy about it. And I'm happy that this turned actually into a podcast because, like I said, I was like literally like I told her I was like I just want to have a chat. Like I don't know if I'm ready to do it today. And then it turned into this, and it was just beautiful flow. Um, so I want you to tell the viewers how they can contact you, how they can work with you, and like your website. Do you do one-on-ones? Just let them know.
Yeah. So Um, the only social media I'm on is Instagram, Sovereign Womb Alchemy. And so that's a way to find me and kind of be tuned into what I'm sharing. And you can reach me by email, contact at Sovereign Womb Alchemy, and or just hit me up on Instagram. I am doing one-on-one sessions. Right now, I'm doing two different types of sessions. I'm doing like the quantum deep womb multidimensional clearing work, but I'm also doing what I call sacred soma sessions, which is to like really come deeply into our nervous system and our bodies. So they're kind of, contrary to each other, because I feel like I open up containers where people can do deep, deep, deep work. And then on the other side of that is like, okay, how do we recalibrate the nervous system? Just build capacity, build safety, build nourishment. I feel like both are equally important on our walk. And so those are kind of the containers I hold. I do work with men as well. I do hata clearings. I help men like clear circumcision trauma and or like hooks into pornography. Like I go deep into their hata. So I do that. And I work with couples as well. So couples that are like on the union path and like finding that there's like interference or attack on the union template, I do work with them too. So yeah.
Beautiful. And guys, I couldn't recommend her enough. She came in at a time like literal, like an angel that really brought me out of a dark place, and reminded me of what was possible for my own journey. And so I want to thank you so much for having this session with me. It's like it was just originally going to be like this little chat
Just
between
us
us, and
talking.
it turned into something so beautiful. So um
It is.
I mean, honestly, like let's make this a regular thing. I think that your voice needs to be heard. And I think you're definitely someone I've noticed that, you deserve so much recognition for the work that you do. Because it's life changing. And yeah, it's gonna be a wild ride, but I see you and I love you. So thank you so much.
You and I love you too. I really do.
Okay.